Hello, hello, BSU. Hi, my name is Prince Ikeguano. I'm a graduate research assistant for summer 2021 at the Virtual Reality Lab. And for this project, I'm investigating active shooter tasks for computer science building security personnel here at the BSU. The purpose is to provide training for Bowie State University computer science building first responders and law enforcement in an active shooter scenario. The training module conforms to United States Department of Homeland Security (DHS) protocols that enable law enforcement officers and first responders to quickly engage and neutralize an attacker, to provide medical assistance to the wounded, as well as to ensure that the wounded are quickly transported to definitive care. Active shooter incidents are often unpredictable and evolve quickly. In the midst of the chaos, anyone can actually play an integral role in mitigating the impact of an active shooter incident, including the folks being attacked. Of course, you know about run, hide, and fight. The DHS recommends preparedness through a whole community approach by providing products, tools, and resources to help prepare for and respond to an active shooter incident. Most of these products emphasize regular, specialized active shooter training for first responders and law enforcement personnel. So clarity is needed for those personnel regarding the tasks, incident command structure, and communication in incident of an active shooter event. There's a ton of data out there, nationwide, worldwide, about active shooter incidences. This is from Gun Violence Archive on CNN, 2020 active shooter data. You see about 611 incidences, 2020, and it's 2021 is looking like almost getting there at 390 already. 2020 had 40 incidences in 19 states. Five of those incidents met the mass killing criteria. Um, Eight incidents required law enforcement to engage with the shooter. 35 shooters were male, three female, 164 casualties, 164 excluding the shooters. Seven shooters committed suicide. One law enforcement got killed. 11 law enforcement got wounded. Four shooters were killed by law enforcement, and 24 shooters were apprehended by law enforcement. Who is an active shooter? It's usually an individual engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. Typically use firearms. Well, of course, active shooter. There's some shooting involved, although there are mass killings that involve other weapons. For this training scenario, we're focusing on active shooters. But for those, there is no pattern or method to their selection of victims, although there has been some cases of revenge, workplace violence, and so on and so forth. But active shooter situations are unpredictable and evolve quickly, so quickly that immediate deployment of law enforcement is usually required to stop the shooting and mitigate the harm to victims. If not, it usually ends within 10 to 15 minutes before law enforcement arrives on this. Even sometimes, some active shooters have been known to flee the scene before even law enforcement arrives. So because of this, there's been a ton of models among intellectual research been going on. What is the best model for law enforcement to react to respond to an active shooter scenario? This acronym threat was codified by the FBI. It requires threat suppression, hemorrhage control, rapid response, including rapid extradition of victims to safety, assessment by medical providers, as well as transportation to definitive care away from the harm. For us, we came up with our own, well, not much as an acronym, but a bunch of tasks and scenarios, as well as protocols. It's a 8-step task process, and it on the left column is the task. On the right, on the middle, is the scenario that the task is being deployed, and to the right of that is the protocol that supports that task. It usually is DHS. There's also protocols that are supported by the local law enforcement. Some have their rules of engagement. Some have their own protocols on how to address a threat or what kind of weapons or tactics to use. So for this scenario, this training module, it requires a task to be accomplished by the user, the task being completed, the task being reported, and after that, a new task is being applied. Uh, and this because virtual reality is safe, it's affordable, it can be very realistic because it leverages the futuristic capabilities of immersive virtual reality experiences. It's the leading education and training tool today. A lot of folks use it nowadays in instructional design. It's legal, very legal, and it could be entertaining, very entertaining as well, and immersive. All right. For this training model, it features a bunch of features. We have a single player mode. You can also have a multiplayer mode, but that's for the future. There's a weapon selection, there's tactical selection, events management, communication, there's a score reporting. Of course, most of what's in there, what we try to do, it's all DHS complied, and it's upgradable and portable. And I might have to throw out just a little warning. The demo that I'll show at the end of this might be a little violent for folks. There's some blood and some gore and some shooting and some realistic gunshots. So I really apologize for that. Even me as a Navy veteran, I still get some feedback when I play it. So in conclusion, mass killings and gun violence presents an ever-present threat to public health and safety. Virtual reality is an effective training tool, though, for public safety. We remember the Columbine scenario where the shooters were supposed to have trained on a video game. Well, I believe the same tool, the same so-called video game, can also help to solve the issue at hand. It is important that a simulated user experience transfers into real-world experiences as well. It is necessary to conduct studies to assess usability, preference, and performance of different levels of interactive fidelity from the user. It is necessary also to collaborate with law enforcement throughout the design process. There is a need to investigate options for realistic human behavior in virtual reality, as well as continued access to virtual reality research, which is very, very vital to the future. Well, speaking of which, I would like to acknowledge access to the research provided by the NSF grants, as well as access by Dr. Sharma, the director of the Virtual Reality Lab, and kudos to my Bowie State Virtual Reality Lab teammates and everybody, friends and family that helped me throughout this process. And at this point, I would like to open the floor for any questions you may have. Thanks for listening.